Welcome into Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. I'm Meghan Payton. We are on a mission to get to 7,000 subscribers. We're currently at 6,599 and very thankful for all of you guys that watch Steelers Talk here. We want to keep you updated all season long, so if you want those updates to keep on coming, please help us out. Subscribe to our channel. We've got a lot of off-season news and rumors to discuss. So coming up on today's show, we are talking Keith Butler retiring this year. That is going to be a big topic of discussion. Mike Tomlin's press conference end of the year, typical presser, what he went over, what to expect for players, what this offseason is going to look like. And lastly, the rumor that keeps spreading around the league is, could the Raiders trade for Mike Tomlin? I will give you guys all of my thoughts during today's show. All right, first we are talking defensive coordinator Keith Butler. He started as the Steelers linebacker coach. He coached a lot of guys like Joey Porter, James Harrison, Lawrence Timmons. He's been so successful in Pittsburgh. He was promoted to defensive coordinator in 2015 after Dick LeBeau's resignation. Now we are hearing that he could possibly retire this year. So I know this Steelers team struggled a little bit this year, but I think that losing Butler would be somewhat disappointing for the Steelers. He's been one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. So unfortunately, everyone's time must come to an end, and he might be saying he is out of it. But Mike Tomlin hasn't given us a clear answer on whether or not Butler will retire. So of course, we will keep you updated on that, but he has been successful. You look at opponents' points per game during the last several years, 2015 and 2016 and 2017, they were all 19 to 20. That's really good. In 2018, it was 22 and a half. His best year was in 2019, 18.9 average points per game. In 2020, 19.5. And in 2021, a little bit higher, which was 23.4, but they did deal with a lot of injuries, a lot of unexpected issues. Obviously, the COVID-19 stuff not helping this roster. I do think it will be a loss, though, if Keith Butler decides to leave. We, of course, are not 100% sure on this. So my fingers are crossed, and I'm hoping that he decides to stick it out one more year, especially during this rebuild year, if we want to call it. So I'll ask you guys this. Do you think Keith Butler will return in 2022? This is the pinned comment for today's show. So right now, go on down to the comments, type R for return if you think he's coming back, or type L for leave if you think he is out of here. All right, so as we said, we're going to talk about Mike Tomlin's end of the year press conference. This is held every year after the season is over. He did this on Tuesday. Many questions surrounding the Steelers this year. What's their team going to look like in 2022? Obviously, when you have a big quarterback like Ben Roethlisberger retiring, your team is going to look different. So Tomlin's in the process right now of doing player interviews this week. This is kind of the end of the year exit interviews, if you want to call it that. He does them with the players. He does them with the coaches. This process takes a little bit of time, but he knows that this is going to be a different year. He knows that it's going to take a bit of change to get back to a team that he thinks can be successful in the playoffs and even make it to the playoffs. So we have our key takeaways from Tomlin's press conference to go over today. Of course, the big one being what's going to happen at the quarterback position. But just generically, what Mike Tomlin said during his presser was wrapping a bow around what it is that we've done and planning for the future. I personally have started the process of meeting with players. I've been doing that all morning and will continue and meet with virtually everyone. I prioritize the rookies. I prioritize the first-year Steelers, the guys whose contracts are up. I usually hold leadership off until the end because our conversations extend beyond the blocks of time that I have allotted and things of that nature. So that's where we start that process. I started that briefly somewhat with the coaches as well as support staff that will be ongoing in the upcoming days and weeks. So this is an interesting kind of take from Mike Tomlin, where he says he starts with the rookies and the guys whose contracts are ending, meaning, some of this leadership veterans, the guys that, have been around a while, he'll hold off a little bit. So what we can take from that is we're probably going to know a little bit more about these rookies earlier on, probably than some of the veteran guys. But I think the main things I want to know when I think about Mike Tomlin's press conference and what he's going to be dealing with this offseason is what's going on with the center position. J.C. Hassenauer, is he going to stay at center? He was asked about this because, as you know, Kendrick Green was the Steelers center. He essentially got benched, but he was injured. They never brought him back. J.C. Hassenauer did take over. Mike Tomlin answered this being pretty honest. He said, I do believe JC gave us the best opportunity to win at the latter portions of the season. That's why we played him. And I'm optimistic that KG has position flexibility. That's one of the reasons why he was attracted to us. All right, so let's look at this depth chart and kind of talk about what Mike Tomlin's saying. So Kendrick Green was the center for the Steelers before J.C. Hassenauer came in. They found a little bit more success with J.C., so then maybe they're saying Kendrick Green could play guard. He has been able to be a little bit more flexible. Kendrick Green still on contract for Pittsburgh. J.C. Hassenauer, though, is an exclusive rights free agent, meaning that the Steelers will have first dibs if they want to bring him back. They're going to have to figure out what they're doing with Trey Turner and Chukuma Okorafor, who are both unrestricted free agents, as well as BJ Finney. So this depth chart of this offensive line, it's a struggling offensive line. We've talked about it. They've had little moments throughout the season where it seems to be encouraging, but ultimately, I think this is going to be a big area that Mike Tomlin and this offense has to focus on this year. So I'll ask you guys this. It's clearly a problem. Is it the biggest problem? Do you think that the O-line is the biggest need for the Steelers this offseason? If so, type B for biggest need, or if not, you can go ahead and type O for other. All right, the Steelers season might be over, but there is still NFL playoffs. And if you want a little skin in the game, now is the time to get your betting on for this weekend. We've got a great deal to tell you guys about over at BetUS. Have a reason to root for someone this week. If you guys go to chatsports.com/bet, use the promo code Steelers125, you are going to get a 125% deposit bonus. So all you have to do is put up $100. That's going to turn into $225. You'll literally have $125 of free money to bet on whatever you'd like. And we've got some good games coming up. Obviously not as fun if Pittsburgh was in it, but you look at these games right now, Titans, Bengals, Tennessee's favorite, -3.5. Packers, 49ers, -6 is a pretty large spread for the Packers. I'd say, 49ers could possibly cover this. I don't know if they're going to win, but they could make it a little bit closer than this. You could bet on Bucks versus Rams. The over-under for that game is set at 48.5. And here's a big one. Chiefs versus Bills. The over-under for that game is set at 55. Do you guys think it'll actually be that high? Maybe that's a game you want to take the under on. But either way, if you're going to bet at all this week, make sure to go to chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code Steelers125. All right, back to our Tomlin presser takeaways. What will happen to Joe Haden and Ahkello Witherspoon? Now we're getting into the talk of free agents, also trades. All of these topics are going to get brought up. What's happening to this roster? Joe Haden could absolutely not come back to the Steelers. They could not come to an agreement last offseason, mostly due to his age and the price that he wanted. That's typically what happens when a team doesn't want to pay a guy. It's because they want too much or that their age is a factor. Haden's now going to enter free agency, so it's going to be very interesting to see what Mike Tomlin decides with Joe Haden, or maybe Joe Haden doesn't even come back and he decides to go elsewhere. Once Joe Haden was injured this year, we saw a lot more from Ahkello Witherspoon. And I'd say he really stood out. Joe Haden obviously being kind of that more dominant quarterback for the Steelers, but I'd kind of put my money on Ahkello Witherspoon. I think that he did really well coming in for Joe Haden. He had like 3 picks during that time. He's had 15 tackles this year, 9 pass breakups. I think that the Steelers could get a lot of use out of Witherspoon, especially this is just the small amount we've seen of him. But Mike Tomlin is saying that he values both guys. Now, you can value both guys. Does that mean you're going to have both of these guys return? I'd say it's unlikely that both Joe HADEN and Ahkello Witherspoon are back in Pittsburgh next year. It would be nice, but it might not happen. So if you guys had to pick one cornerback to stay with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who would you rather? Would you rather Joe HADEN? If so, go to the comments right now, type JH, or if you're taking Ahkello Witherspoon, go right now and type AW. All right, so of course, the glaring question, who is going to be the 2022 Steelers quarterback? Is it going to be a guy in their own roster? Is it going to be a trade? Is it going to be a free agent? Is it going to be someone that they draft? We have no idea. But Dwayne Haskins sure is fighting for it. He said, I definitely feel like I can be a starter in this league. It's what I was drafted to do. He goes on just kind of pitching himself. He says he respects Big Ben, but he also was talking about how he feels like Matt Canada's offense wasn't able to shine because of Big Ben's lack of mobility. Very respectful to Ben Roethlisberger, though. But Dwayne Haskins is putting himself out there. He wants this job. Of course he does. Now, I don't know. We haven't seen much from Haskins. All we can really look at is what he did with the Washington football team back in 2020. This was over 7 games, I believe, or 9 games, actually. He had a 61.4 completion percentage, 1,400 yards, 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So are these stats amazing? Absolutely not. But are the Steelers going to maybe give him a chance? Could possibly be the case. Mike Tomlin said we are proceeding with that assumption. Both guys, Mason and Dwayne, have had their moments, but they'll have to prove that. And not only in the team development process, but through playing itself. There are guys that start that I wouldn't characterize as everyday starters, as you described, and so they'll be given an opportunity to establish themselves. There's going to be competition. There always is. So of course, Mike Tomlin isn't going to tell us right now who he wants as the quarterback. I wonder, though, he must have an idea what's going to happen during next season. So I'll ask you guys this. I've heard your opinions on Mason Rudolph, on Dwayne Haskins, but now that the season is over, Big Ben's going to be done, would you be okay with Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins starting this season? Or would you want someone else? If you'd be okay with one of them, type Y for yes. Or if you're saying absolutely not, go with any other guy. Go to the comments right now and type N for no. Okay, so the rumor that we have to talk about here at Steelers Talk is, could the Raiders trade for Mike Tomlin? He has been such a candidate in the rumors this year of, oh, could he end up here? Could he end up here? Raiders being the top one, saying that they could do a massive trade deal and get Mike Tomlin. He's second on most odds to be the Raiders coach. So that's kind of crazy that Vegas Sportsbook is saying, hey, we think Mike Tomlin has the second most chance at becoming the Raiders coach. I don't know. To me, there's no way this is happening. It's not happening. Mike Tomlin has never given us any reason to believe that he would be leaving Pittsburgh, going and taking another job. Now, does everyone have their price? Probably, but I really, really do not think Mike Tomlin is going to be leaving Pittsburgh anytime soon. I think he's happy here. He's excited to rebuild this team, start fresh, new quarterback. I genuinely think we are going to be seeing Tomlin back in Pittsburgh in 2022. But of course, if something changes, we will always keep you guys updated. That's why you want to subscribe to Steelers Talk, so you do not miss out on any of the offseason updates. You can go to youtube.com/Steelers TV or press that big red button and you will stay in the know with your favorite team in the NFL.